The Washington Commanders avoid the shutout but lose 37-3. This is our instant reaction. Let's go. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's instant reaction here on the Believe Network. And this one was just not a game for Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders as they lose 37-3. Stoner, I'm going to start off with that 3 as you were furious that they went for a field goal that late in the game.
It's just embarrassing. Is that what we've reduced ourselves to? That we're going to, the biggest thing that we can do in this game is not get shut out. I mean, who does that help? What does that help? Are we going to,
I remember seeing that a lot growing up. That you talked about old school ball, running the ball all the time, right? Yeah. And this was an old school. Ron Rivera grew up in this era as well. You just try to put up points just so that way you say you weren't spanked. I mean, Washington still absolutely spanked, but it was just an old school kind of coach being like, no, we're not going to get shut out, at least trying to take some positive away from
know what they're going to say is they're going to say that, well, we wanted to get Cheeseman out there to get some more reps or whatever in a game situation because he's been struggling. I know that's what they're going to say. And that's just insane to me that they would lower themselves to the point of we've given up, but we don't want to get shut out. It's just embarrassing.
I think it's also Sam Howell just took 2 big hits there as they were driving.
Well, Jacoby should have been in the game.
Maybe he should have. Maybe he shouldn't have. I think it was good for Sam Howell to get reps. I was hoping he was going to get something positive going. He had that good pass to Curtis Samuel at the end, but just nothing went well for Sam Howell today. Sacked 8 times.
8 times. 9 times. 9 sacks, Nathan. 9.
That's insane. I forgot the last one. That is the second most since John Beck, right?
I don't know. I think that ties John Beck. I don't know if has there been one worse than that? A game where they've had more sacks.
It's hard to believe it. That was horrendous. That was worse than Philadelphia a few years ago. Had 7 sacks against Washington. This time Buffalo getting the 9 sacks against
the whole thing was just embarrassing, Nathan.
It was not great. It was not great at all. Nothing went right for Washington, it seemed. Everything was going Buffalo's way. Let's talk a little bit about what we did see from this team. 3rd game in a row, Stoner. Eric Bieniemy comes out and uses this passing offense, rushing late or later in the game to try to make up for it and get those stats a little bit more evened out. Some good rushing stats there from Brian Robinson and company. But what do you think about the pass rush play calling?
Well, at least if you are a listener / viewer of Ref the District, you know that we've been complaining about it since game 1. When game 1, they dropped back 33 times and ran the ball 9 times against Arizona in the first half. And I don't have the exact numbers for the second game, but in this 3rd game, they dropped back 16 times and ran the ball 5 times in the first half. And it's no coincidence that they've been down in every half at halftime of every game this year. I don't think it's a coincidence. And we keep hearing that EB is new school and he's all about throwing the ball to set up the run. But to me, that just puts your quarterback, your young, inexperienced, here you go, Nathan, 2nd-year quarterback, that you just put him in bad positions or bad situations. And against a defense like Buffalo, at least today, he went out there and showed what dropping back time after time after time is going to end up getting you, and that's 9 sacks and 4 interceptions. I just don't understand this idea that we want to drop him back so much, so early, every single game.
You, before the game, were very much a Howler and believed Sam Howell is going to be the quarterback of the future.
Absolutely.
What do you think now after this game against Buffalo?
I mean, it's the worst game that Sam Howell has probably ever played in his entire life, going all the way back
Easily.
to midget football. Oh, I don't know if that's the right term. My apologies. I didn't mean it that way, but I think that's what I called it that when I played as a kid. But it's pee-wee football, it's Pop Warner, whatever you want to call it. It's probably the worst game he's ever played his entire life. So it's something that you just have to look at. I don't even think they should be watching tape of this game. Just throw all that away and get
Burn
ready
it.
for Philadelphia. Just burn it. This is one of those games where Ron Rivera should walk into that room and say, we're not watching tape at all this week. That was a stinker. That was a bunch of garbage. Everybody played terrible up and down this lineup, up and down the roster. Let's just start game planning for Philadelphia and figure this out because that was bad. Everybody was bad. Coaches, players, everybody was bad.
Staying on the offensive side here with those 9 sacks. So Buffalo came into this with only 3 sacks.
Yeah.
Washington had 10.
Yeah.
They finished the game with Buffalo having 12 sacks on the season to Washington's 10.
Right.
Washington unable to get it on the defensive side of the ball, giving it up.
It's
What
bad.
what is this team going to do when they face a good defensive line? Like this was there's some names there with Oliver and that Bills defense is good,
Sure.
but you're headed to Philadelphia next week.
And
What are they going to
defense.
do against that defensive front? Like
I mean, they got to figure something out. And again, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but again, establish the run first. And then you're going to figure out what's going on with the passing game and how you have to protect him. They had 0 screen passes, at least in the first half. I think they did have one in the second half, but it was called back because of an ineligible man downfield because Sam had to hold the ball because he was getting rushed, even on a screen pass. So they just weren't doing things to offset an aggressive defensive line. And so next week they're going to have to figure something out because they dropped back 39 times. 39 times they dropped back and ran the ball 12 times. 39-12. And again, the second half, of course, you're going to skew towards passing, but it's not like that wasn't the case in the first half as well.
sure.
They just in that first drive in the second half, run for 13 yards, run for 6 yards. I think I got those flipped, whatever. And then pass, and which led to an interception. I don't get it. You just had success moving the ball. Brian Robinson, 10 for 70. He averaged 7 yards a carry, and he only got 10 touches. I don't get it. I don't get it. This is on Eric Bieniemy. I know it's on Sam Howell. It's on the offensive line. It's on the defensive line. This is on Eric Bieniemy.
Well, you bring up the defensive line. I did say that they didn't finish with any sacks, and of course, giving up 37 points isn't a highlight for a defense. But
Yeah.
this game did not get out of hand until the middle end of the third quarter. Really, fourth quarter even. The first half. Washington looking at a 2-score deficit, but it was only 16-0 at that point. It didn't,
Right.
and it felt way worse. But the defense was holding the Bills to lower end opportunities. Even one of those interceptions by Sam Howell, they didn't get any points off of. And then it kind of went backwards there towards the middle of the third quarter. Of course, the first drive also ending in an interception in the third quarter. You got a Gibby fumble. Yes, he's back to being Gibby as he put the ball on the ground.
2 in 3 games.
The defense getting 1 turnover by a Kendall Fuller interception that was essentially a punt.
Mm-hmm.
What does the defense need to do to get better? Because they've had now 2 games where they've given up 30 points.
Yeah. Back to back 30 plus points that they've given up. And one of these was a defensive touchdown, but the defense kept getting put into bad situations by the offense. And we talked about that all week leading up to this game, that the offense needs to help this defense by sustaining drives. And they couldn't do it. And they just kept turning the ball over and giving it right back. 4 interceptions plus the fumble, all those sacks. I think on that one drive where they stopped Buffalo on the 4th down, they tried to get it on 4th down. They knocked down the pass. First play, interception.
Mm.
and the defense is right back out there. It's insane how good the defense was, and then you look up and it's 37 points that they gave up. But they just kept getting put in bad situations. And offensively, when Washington goes down there and gets inside the 5-yard line, get all the way down to the 1, and this is where that aggressive nature as a coach, that you decide to go for it and you don't get it, and that's points you lose and momentum that you lose instead of just taking those 3 points. There was just a lot of the defense was fine, Nathan. The defense played pretty well. Now they couldn't contain Allen in the
Yeah.
pocket, especially.
Allen was
They
having a
played
field
pretty
day on the
well.
ground. They did play pretty well, but they didn't play pretty well on third down, as the Bills were 9 for 15
Yeah,
on
it's
third
huge.
down. This was a team that Washington came in one of the, if not the best at
Mhm.
third down, getting off the field
Yeah.
for the defense. Now they
Yeah.
allowed 9 for 13 there
Mhm.
for the Bills. What do you make of that being a problem here in this game?
Yeah, that's huge. Not getting off on third down is a big deal. The Bills seem to over and over again convert these third downs, especially in the first half. They were doing it to get out to that early lead. But it just seemed like defensively, the game plan was not to pressure Josh Allen. It
Mhm.
was to rush 4, do your best to keep him in the pocket, and hopefully on the back end be able to cover these receivers. That was a bad game plan. Again, I got to put this on the coaches. It was a bad game plan because Josh Allen is just standing out there looking everywhere. And as I said during our live watch party, I can get open if my quarterback has that much time. I can find a hole somewhere to get open. And that's what Diggs was doing. Gabe Davis, Dante Hart. I mean, it was a field day for that offense.
Yeah. They were pretty successful. Washington was pretty successful at stopping the run there in the first
Mhm.
half and through most of the game. And then when they needed to stop the run, they were unable to, as James
Yeah.
Cook finished with 15 rushes for 98 yards. You mentioned Josh Allen. He had those 3 for 46 yards, just absolutely gashing Washington when it came to that. But most
Mhm.
of James Cook, his yards came in that second half as they were
Sure.
looking to close the game. And I just feel like Washington needs to do a better job. When you know the team's going to run, you need to be able to stop them, and they were unable to do that. Uh, Stephon Diggs, great game by him, 8 receptions for 111 yards. You mentioned Washington having a hard time really containing him on this
Mhm.
offense. And then on our side of the ball, Brian Robinson had another good game, quality game for him, 10 carries, 70 yards. Are we finally starting to see Brian Robinson kind of be the running back one that we thought he was going to be last season?
Yeah, especially if Gibson continues to fumble the ball, then obviously he will be. But we see it. His numbers prove out that he is the guy and that he needs a ton of touches. And yet Eric Bieniemy just refuses to do it, apparently. He refuses to run him 10 rushes in this game and 0 targets in the passing game, which last week he had 2 screen passes for 42 yards. It's mind-boggling the way this game played out from the beginning offensively, everything that they were doing, and that they wouldn't stick with it. They wouldn't stick with the run when time and time again they were getting good runs, and then they would just start throwing it and throwing it and throwing it and throwing it. And all Buffalo was doing was let's send 5 guys, let's send 6 guys, whatever. Let's just rattle this young quarterback, this second year quarterback, as we have to call him now. And Sam he got rattled. I don't know if he looked rattled. I don't care if he looked rattled in the face. He played rattled.
Mhm.
And so they just kept bringing it. And so, okay, Eric Bieniemy, let's make adjustments. Okay, let's run the ball 13 yards. Okay, let's run the ball 6 yards. Pass, pass, pass. Interception. I don't get it. It's just bad. And it's going to bother me all week. And we love to give Eric Bieniemy his flowers. We're not over here talking about fire this guy and fire that guy. It's a bad game, whatever. But when we give him his flowers and for everything he did, especially in game 2 against Denver, which he did, he was masterful in calling that game, and Sam was great. We have to turn around And when they do this, we have to say, you stunk. It was bad planning, bad game plan, bad execution, bad play calling, and you got to be called out for it. You better fix it before you have to go up to Philadelphia and face that Super Bowl contending team. Lord, that's scary already.
Well, we'll talk about that later in the week. I want you to try to
for
find one positive. I have one. If you don't, I have one positive from this game. How about you? Do you have anything that you can take a positive out of this game?
No, and you can't make me.
Fair enough.
I saw no positives in that game, and you're going to say, Brian Robinson. Okay, fine. He was good.
He was good. He was good. But if I had to say
nothing.
There was a
you
positive.
Give up 37, you only score 3, and you're going to find a positive somewhere in there?
Of course. I'm annoyingly optimistic.
I'm guessing Curtis Samuel.
No, you're wrong again.
All
How
right.
about Cole Turner having a decent game there? This is the heir apparent to Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas out this game. So it's nice to see him come. Now, he did have the one drop where it hit him right in the stomach. But outside of that, I liked what I saw from him, and I liked to see that he was involved early. But other than that, you're right, Stoner. There's not a lot positive to come from this. So we'll have to look at this tomorrow during the day after Reckoning, where we're going to break down some of the game film. So make sure you check that out here on Ref the District. We'll, of course, have the final thoughts on our Wednesday flagship program. So be on the lookout for that and all your daily Commanders updates news as well. Content every day of the week here on Ref the District. So make sure you check that out and forget this game. But until next time,
Kyle Allen was in the game for crying.
Be a fan.